With the Trump administration already accelerating its plan of mass deportations of undocumented migrants, many Filipinos are concerned and scared. And last November, Philippine Ambassador Jose Romualdez said that undocumented Filipinos should just self-deport. I wanted to give a brief history specifically about Filipino migration and deportation. In the early 1900s, after the US colonized the Philippines, Filipino workers were considered as US nationals at that time. They came to the US, took up highly laborious farm work and cannery jobs on the West Coast and in Hawaii. Because of the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, other Asian ethnicities were considered as immigrants and they were barred from entering the country. Filipinos were allowed to enter the country because of the Philippines' status as a US colony. They were working under highly exploitative conditions and racist conditions that led to the formation of unions and labor strikes as they fought for their basic rights. When the Great Depression hit in 1929 and the economic downturn leads to people experiencing massive debt, unemployment, poverty, there was also an anti-immigrant sentiment. This nativist sentiment that immigrants were taking jobs that should belong to Americans led to the targeting and deportations and hate crimes against Filipino, Mexican, Chinese, Japanese, and other groups of immigrants. Remember that at that time, Filipinos were still considered US nationals, but the Tidings-McDuffie Act set the motion for granting the Philippine independence by the year 1945. It stated that upon being granted independence, Filipino nationals who are not citizens of the US shall be considered as if they were aliens. The reason that the US granted independence to the Philippines is not because they truly wanted our people's sovereignty. It was in part because it now prevented another class of immigrants from entering the country and also declassified those who had already entered. And following this act, there were pushes to repatriate or essentially deport the over 100,000 Filipinos who were already in the US. The very workers that the US needed in order to fill these highly laborious and exploitative low-wage jobs were now the workers that the government wanted to deport. This is the United States hypocrisy, right? They see that it is beneficial and actually necessary for their system to have workers who are, because of the nature of how they came here, in a more precarious position and they have an opportunity to exploit them. But at the same time, they are also scapegoating those same immigrants and directing people's anger from the economic situation at them for taking their jobs. This keeps the attention on someone else rather than on the government itself and the oligarchy that is creating these economic conditions in the first place. In the US today, there are over 4 million Filipinos and estimates as high as 1 million Filipinos who are undocumented. Many of us are familiar with the reality that our families have to be separated, as so many have no choice but to leave their country and secure their livelihood. With the looming threats of the Trump administration, and I don't even want to say threats because they're the things that are actively going on, we really have to urgently stand with and protect migrant workers and really our kababayan. We have to be organized in our communities and we have to fight back. In the caption below, I'm listing some resources, and this was by no means a comprehensive history, but just some historical context to what's going on right now.